After 3 years of IVF, I finally got pregnant with the baby. Yet, he missed my signs of premature labor because he was busy tending to the one he always loved, who was suffering from chest pains. This led to my stillbirth. He even said, "You can have more children later. Don't upset her." In that moment, I not only lost my child but also permanently lost my fertility. When I asked for a divorce, he lost his mind. After 3 years of IVF, I was finally pregnant with the baby. He was the one in our family who most looked forward to having a child. When I told him the fetal movement was abnormal and asked him to come with me to the hospital, he refused. I'd had abnormal fetal movements a few times before, and he'd gone to the hospital with me, but nothing ever happened, though he didn't say it. I knew he was annoyed by what he saw as my overreaction. The baby isn't auspicious. It brought her misfortune. It's just fetal movement. It's happened before. I knew who it brought misfortune to. The one he always loved, Sage. I could clearly feel this fetal movement was different. I begged him to come back. He eventually agreed, reluctantly, but I waited 5 hours, and he never came, causing me to miss the best window to save the baby. The baby died in utero, leading to a stillbirth. My fists clenched audibly, and I bit back my fury as I dialed his phone. "You promised me you'd come. Why did you go back to her midway?" "I worked for 3 years. I didn't want the last few months to turn from welcoming a new life into being a murderer." "Stop putting on an act. Every time. You used the fetal movement to force me to leave Sage. The baby brought her misfortune. Ever since you got pregnant, she's been suffering from chest pains. How can you be so cold-blooded? My husband, the love of my life. He sacrificed my child's life to satisfy that vile woman's superstition." I was desperate and enraged, but mostly deeply disappointed in him. "How could you be so heartless? How much I suffered for the baby, and how much pain you went through. Have you forgotten it all?" My voice trembled, the last flicker of hope dying within me. "You murderer? Why don't you just die?" Only silence answered on the other end of the phone call. Furious and overwhelmed, I ignored my physical weakness and used my phone's GPS to find him and catch him cheating. "Marcus, did your 3 years of IVF struggles all go to waste?" My voice surged with rage the moment I saw Sage. "You caused my stillbirth just to come to this hussy." "That's right. My husband came to serve water, wipe her down, and wash the feet of the one he always loved immediately after causing my stillbirth." Sage, with her back to the front door, instinctively sprang up from the hospital bed and hid behind him, crying out in pain as she pulled at her wound. Marcus stood up and threw the foot-washing water in my face. "Are you insane?" yelling in the hospital. I couldn't dodge in time and was drenched. He was about to yell at me when he saw my flat stomach and gasped in shock. "Where's the baby?" My bloodshot eyes glared at Marcus. I sneered. "The baby? The baby's gone." Sage gently tugged at his sleeve. "It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted you come, Grace wouldn't have." He snapped back to reality, frowning at my outburst. "Grace, that's enough. I know it was wrong of me to force your stillbirth, but this was my decision, and Sage has nothing to do with it. Don't take your anger out on her, from beginning to end." Marcus pushed me away while shielding her behind him. Seeing that my anger hadn't subsided, and fearing I might lose control and kill Sage, he quickly teamed up with the nurses to pull me away. "We're still young, we'll have other chances. Didn't the doctor say your health was good last time? If you can get pregnant once, you can get pregnant again. We'll have many snake babies, horse babies. How about one every year?" He rattled on, clearly just stalling for Sage. Was I really that terrifying? He was afraid that I, a woman who just had a miscarriage, would kill the one he always loved, but he killed our only child. Back at the house, Margaret had already brought farm-fresh eggs from our hometown and was cooking in the kitchen. "You're back. Hurry. Let Grace try this homemade chicken soup." I specially slow-cooked it all afternoon. The moment Margaret saw my stomach, her hand trembled, and the soup bowl she was holding shattered. "What happened to your stomach?" Her eyes red-rimmed. She rushed over and held me. "Grace, you..." I couldn't bear to tell Margaret the truth. Not just Margaret, but both families, 6 people in total, had been eagerly awaiting this new life. Marcus didn't take my words seriously at all. His mind was entirely preoccupied with Sage. He was truly heartless, and he truly loved Sage. I fiercely suppressed the metallic taste rising in my throat, pulled Margaret into the bedroom, and closed the door. "I never agreed to your marriage. He's strong-willed and selfish, but you just wouldn't believe me. 5 years of marriage, 3 years of IVF just to get pregnant. 6 months along, and now you say he just let it go. He's just convinced you can't leave him. Will you die if you leave him? I'm truly going to die of anger because of you, my ungrateful child. Yes, he was convinced I loved him desperately, that I couldn't imagine a life without him. If I hadn't been the only child, my parents would have disowned me because of him. Margaret cried so hard she almost passed out. You have to give me a straight answer today. Are you divorcing him or not? He and I were college classmates. He was the most popular guy in our class. And he pursued Sage for 4 years. While I pursued him for 4 years, when rejected him, he would always come to me for comfort. I thought my sincerity would eventually move him, and it did. He accepted my pursuit after graduation. We quickly got our marriage license. But he never posted on social media about it. He said he didn't like to be too high profile. Marriage is a private matter. As long as we live well, that's all that matters, don't you agree? I'll listen to you. Many of our social media friends overlapped to accommodate his feelings. I suppressed my joy and kept that happiness to myself. After we got married, our life was unremarkable. Every day after work, I'd come home to do laundry, cook, and do housework. I never made him worry about anything at home. He could focus on his career. Rising from an unknown junior salesperson to assistant manager in just a year and a half, just as he was about to compete for the marketing department manager position, he resigned, because had returned from overseas. I don't know how Sage convinced him to resign. All I knew was that 2 years into our marriage, after I was diagnosed with fertility issues, he had suggested I stay home and focus on getting pregnant. He said his income was enough for us to live comfortably. Back then, his heart was still set on our family. It wasn't until later that he joined Sage's company. I have to admit, his business acumen was strong. He became Sage's powerful right-hand person, helping her manage the company efficiently, and its market value soared. Some of Sage's employees even thought he was Sage's husband. That's how dedicated he was. To outsiders, they were made for each other. In both career and life, they were an unbeatable team, invincible. One time, he was away on a business trip for several months. When he returned, he immediately pulled me into doing IVF. At that time, I was so happy. I spun him around, thinking he had finally come around, but I never expected it was because he felt guilty towards me. And the one thing I didn't lack was guilt. What I needed was his wholehearted love. I don't know what happened during those months, but his attitude towards me was incredibly compliant. I thought he had finally been moved by me, but I never expected that what awaited me was a sharp sword, aimed at both me and my mother. I glanced at the closed door, then looked at my mother, who was crying her eyes out. For these 5 years, it was my stubbornness that made Margaret suffer with me. A forced relationship isn't just joyless, it's painful. It took me 5 years to understand this truth. Don't move if you're uncomfortable. You need to rest and take care of your chest pains. I'll be there as soon as I finish up here. But then wait for me. When and I emerged from the bedroom, we overheard him talking on the phone as he left the house. He abandoned me, still recovering from a miscarriage, and walked away briskly. Adulterers. Margaret was so enraged that she slammed the bedroom door shut to vent her frustration as she went back into the room. I went to the kitchen to clean up the mess. The chicken soup on the floor was still steaming. I took several days of bereavement leave, and everyone at the company, assuming there had been a death in my family, offered their condolences. Sage's chest pain continued for many days. Marcus hadn't been home for 3 days. During my hospital stay, the nurses informed me that I needed to have my uterus removed immediately, or my life would be in danger. As his wife, I thought he should have the right to know. I would wait for him one last time. He caused my stillbirth at 6 months, which was already extremely damaging to my body. I hadn't been able to recover well during this time. He was running around. And not only that, but he was constantly going out of his way for Sage. Even if I had died instead of having a miscarriage, it wouldn't have surprised me if he didn't even come to my funeral. This was the last chance I was giving him for the sake of our family. Ding, a debit alert popped up, showing a transaction of over $30,000. There were many unread text messages before it. I usually didn't bother to look at them, but this one just happened to pop up, so I glanced at it. He usually used my bank card. What could have happened that required so much money? Could something be wrong with his health? Since his incident, I hadn't been able to reach him on his phone, but after much effort, I finally found him. Whose band? My words caught in my throat. The sight before me deeply stung my eyes. He was wringing out a wet towel, carefully and gently wiping Sage's body. Although he was unshaven, He looked bright and refreshed. It was as if he could transform into a Superman for Sage, forever immune to pain, yet, when he was with me, he wouldn't even hold a needle, fearing he might hurt himself. But in front of Sage, he was capable of doing so much. Knock, knock, he turned, and the moment he saw me, his expression shifted from guilt to indifference. What are you doing here? Consider that $30,000 alone. I'll pay you back when I get paid. The first thing he did was try to distance himself from me. Had I ever asked him for a single cent all these years? I never even bothered to check how much money I had in my account. My only worry was that he wouldn't have enough money, so I worked tirelessly every day. But all that money might have been spent on Sage. Sage half sat up in bed, feigning confusion. Marcus, did you pay for my surgery after all? Grace doesn't know? You shouldn't have. The company has been losing a lot recently. There's simply not enough for your surgery. And your chest pains have no diagnosed cause. The commercial insurance payout isn't enough, and $30,000 is just a fraction of it. I had no choice, but you just lost the baby. Shouldn't you be taking care of Grace and making sure she recovers? What if you completely break her heart? For the last sentence, he mouthed words to me. Wouldn't that be exactly what I want? Turns out, Sage's goal from the very beginning wasn't Marcus. It was me. I had tirelessly worried for him for 3 years to ensure I got pregnant with the baby. He was a typical career-driven man. And even more so when working for Sage. He worked himself to death, collapsing several times at work, and I was always the one who picked him up. My already delicate body, designed for fertility issues, was injured countless times from supporting him. But to help him recover, I came up with all sorts of ways to nourish him, which also left me with chronic ailments. He didn't have time to exercise, so every night before bed, I'd massage his entire body, manually helping him work his muscles. Besides that, apart from work and taking care of him, I was constantly researching IVF information, looking up IVF hospitals, planning strategies, and finding connections, but at the same time, I had to manage my own diet and routine, ensuring my body was healthy to increase the chances of conception. I tried to spare him from almost every hardship, and if it couldn't be avoided, I would endure it myself. I had gone through countless injections and medications for IVF, but I never once complained or shed a tear in front of him in those 3 years. He also expressed his love for me countless times, so genuinely that I believed he had truly fallen for me. Sage's provocation infuriated me. No woman could tolerate it. Was this your doing? I practically lunged at her to hit her, but Marcus stopped me. Grace, stop being unreasonable. $30,000 is nothing to you. What's wrong with you? Nagging like this? Look at him, the man I loved for 5 years. Then what was our child to you? Let's get a divorce. He froze, taking a few steps toward me. I don't agree. How could you possibly want to divorce me? You can't leave me. Just then, a nurse approached with a diagnosis sheet. Who is Grace? Please come sign. We're preparing for the uterus removal surgery. He looked at me in shock. The consent form for the surgery, I had signed it. How could someone so heartless as to abandon a 6-month-old baby be fit to be a father? Since he joined Sage's company, I hadn't seen a single cent of his income. Instead, his expenses only increased, all coming from my account. I never questioned it once. It was simply my unwavering belief that love meant trust. But now, I had to suspect whether his expenditures involved illegal transfer of assets. Divorce proceedings take a long time. After filing, there's a 3-month cooling-off period. During this time, besides preparing divorce documents, I also needed to find evidence of our shared assets. But I never expected my in-laws would have the nerve to come to my company. Grace, someone's here to see you outside. The moment I stepped out of the office, a slap landed on my face. You ungrateful wretch. My son went through IVF for you, working day and night to help you. And you lost the baby. Do you have any humanity left? Barbara rushed up to hit me, her eyes red, while the whole company watched me as if I were a joke. That was the baby. She's useless. She can't even carry a child. What kind of woman is she? She'd be better off dead, so she wouldn't prevent my son from finding someone better. Henry, standing nearby, spoke even more maliciously. You trash. You even hid the fact that you were having your uterus removed from my son. How ruthless, how venomous you are. If my son ends up without an heir, I swear I'll fight with my last breath to make you pay. I knew I hadn't mistreated my in-laws since we married. Every holiday, I'd give them cash gifts and fine wine. And I even offered them the decision of where the baby would live after birth. After all, I truly loved my husband. I could live anywhere, but there wasn't a single word of truth in what he said. If they knew their own son hitting me caused the stillbirth, and that my uterus had to be removed because he struck me too hard, would they still be so desperate to fight their own son? No. They would only blame me for not saving my uterus and the baby's life. Greedy people always want everything. Don't worry, the divorce application has already been filed. The freedom you wanted for Marcus, I'm giving to you. Everyone knew I couldn't leave Marcus, and they used that against me as leverage, but now, I no longer cared. Henry clearly froze, then quickly regained his composure. Hey Emph, let's see how long you can keep up that tough talk. Don't come pleading us to reconcile then, Barbara chimed in. Exactly, if you want to reconcile. You'll need sincerity, pay double the wedding gifts, double the traditional wedding jewelry, and come begging on hands and knees, then we might consider it. Their delusion was laughable. I finally understand what a spineless person I used to be. From now on, we're even. What do you mean? You owe my son a debt you'll never be able to repay in this lifetime. I ignored them completely, walking away. That night, my phone rang incessantly. After the last call I hung up, the front door finally opened. Grace, get out here. How dare you so discord with my parents? Don't you know they're old and can't handle stress? The man I once loved stormed in to confront me, standing inside the door. Marcus's expression gradually drained of color. The unwavering love I once felt was slowly, meticulously being pulled away from him. He was no longer the brilliant Marcus I knew. Marcus, do you remember your graduation speech? Stay true to yourself and always seek the light. From today on, the Marcus I knew died with my baby. And you, stay away from me. I pushed past his body. As if parting the curtain on a turning point in my life, a panicked expression finally appeared on his face. He realized this time I was serious. He couldn't hold on to me anymore, but years of dominance kept him from easily backing down. Even his attempt to salvage the situation was arrogant. Just apologize, and we can put this behind us. I'll talk to my parents. I don't believe you can just stop loving me. You said you'd die for me. I turned and stared at him, sending shivers down his spine. What? Killing my child wasn't enough? Do you want me to join him in the grave? What nonsense are you talking about? Ignoring his desperate cries, I held out my hand to him. Give me the keys back. No. He put his hands behind his back, a stubborn refusal in his eyes. You're lying to me. You said you'd love me forever, and now, just because of a child, you're going back on your word. Are you even human? Slap, I couldn't take it anymore. I never hit people. You're the first. That was for our unborn child. Now get out. Get as far away as possible. Don't force me to reveal everything you've done. My slap was quite forceful. His face snapped to the side. You hit me? Grace, how dare you hit me? What have I done? Tell me. If you can't, apologize to me. His eyes were bloodshot, and he gripped my collar with such force he practically lifted me off my feet. We have security cameras at home. You haven't forgotten, have you? All his rage stopped in that moment. They were installed for our child. And the bank card in the bedroom, I haven't used it in a long time. But the money in it is gone. I don't mind going to the bank with you right now, or the police. His face went completely pale at that moment, and the grip on my arm loosened entirely. I finally stood steady. He mumbled how he transferred my money, where it went, and how he used it to cover Sage's debts. Only then did I learn that Sage's company had been subjected to forced liquidation, and his account was completely empty. Marcus had been working there for years as a volunteer, not taking a single salary or dividend. To pay for his and Sage's medical and surgical expenses, he had to ask his parents for money, but that family was a bunch of leeches. Apart from the money I gave them, what other money did they have? His parents probably realized our marriage was in trouble and thought they'd come to support Marcus, which is why they caused a scene at my company. Grace, don't you want a divorce? I'll die before I divorce you. But I was keenly aware that this was probably not a simple financial issue. Sage was our senior, and Marcus had been pursuing her since freshman year. He always wanted what he couldn't have, even though Sage's reputation as a notorious flirt had spread throughout the entire grade. He turned a blind eye, always believing he was the exception who could make her settle down. It wasn't until Sage went overseas that he finally stopped to look at me, who had been by his side since his parents kept pressuring him to marry. I, being suitable for marriage, became his top choice. When found me, I was just completing my resignation. I heard you and Marcus filed for divorce? That's a wise move. Otherwise you would have lost everything and not even known why. Sage wore a white dress, outwardly serene but rotten to the core. Too bad someone was too blind to see it and kept chasing after her. If you don't want your chest pains to turn into me severely injuring you, then control your mouth. Controlling my temper was a matter of self-control, not kindness. I had never checked my accounts once in 5 years of marriage. Besides my trust in Marcus, I also wasn't short on money. For me, every transaction was just a change in numbers, but when I organized our marital assets this time, I discovered that after 5 years of marriage, I only had a few tens of thousands of dollars in savings. I didn't want to delve into what happened behind the scenes. That was my last bit of decency toward Marcus. As for the security cameras, I lied to him. How could I bear to monitor him? That foolish man. I only have to say a casual word, and he follows me like a dog. Sage's triumphant tone pierced my ears from below. He even thought it was truly your baby that brought me misfortune, but who knew? He actually killed his own child. He wasn't pregnant with the baby. It was a sick baby. Ha 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 ha. Her arrogant laughter sent my adrenaline soaring. Crash! I kicked Sage in the stomach, and she fell to the ground from the impact. Are you effing crazy? What did I ever do to you? Sage, dazed from the impact, shook her head. Once her eyes were focused, she answered me, you. From the inside out, from top to bottom, you've offended me. Sage got up and brushed the dust off her dress, speaking carelessly. Before you enrolled, I was the top student, dominating the prize money in all the major school competitions, but ever since you enrolled, every year, every quarter, whatever competition I entered, you entered too. If you were just less skilled, always ranking behind me, that would have been fine. Her voice suddenly became agitated, but you were like a bug from out of nowhere, a sudden cheat code, always getting the upper hand, taking first place in every award that was meant for me. The spotlight I maintained was gradually extinguished by you. I was shocked by her shamelessness and fragile ego. If everyone as excellent as you behaved this way, would the earth even keep turning? Sage, you're truly a lunatic. Me? A lunatic? A lunatic is still better than you, the sneak who stole my guaranteed admission. You're a lunatic. When did I steal a guaranteed admission? I didn't even agree. Suddenly, a light bulb went off. I remembered that our advisor had indeed offered a guaranteed admission in junior year. It was an admission to a top university. And anyone who got in was definitely a standout. If I continued my studies, I certainly wouldn't be able to stay by Marcus's side. Blinded by love, I voluntarily gave up that guaranteed admission. Logically, such a precious spot would be prioritized for highly excellent students who actively participated in competitions. Sage and I were the only two contenders at the time. If I had forfeited, the spot would surely have gone to Sage, but after she learned I had guaranteed admission, she immediately went overseas. By a strange twist of fate, someone else ended up getting the spot. Sage seemed to realize this too, and she stood there stunned, but then she suddenly started laughing. You've been with Marcus for so long, and you still don't know the real reason Marcus forced you to have a stillbirth at 6 months, do you? It's because he has a terminal genetic disease. What did Sage mean? Didn't Marcus worry that the baby would bring her misfortune? Wasn't this a setup by Sage to show off in front of me? Sage, please don't run off again. Go back for your treatment. From a distance, I heard Marcus's weary voice. He pursued Sage, and when he saw me, guilt flickered in his eyes. What are you doing here? I won't sign the divorce papers. He wouldn't sign, yet he was still entangled with Sage. Was this still the Marcus I loved? It's almost time for your medication. Let's go back quickly. Marcus walked over to Sage, his eyes full of pleading, and said in a voice he thought I couldn't hear, "Please, go back now. Your illness is about to flare up. Please go back." What illness did Sage have? My brain froze for a while. By the time I regained my composure, they had already left. The information today was overwhelming. I was still trying to piece things together when I got home. First, the true reason Marcus forced me to abort the baby. Second, Sage's illness. Indeed, many genetic diseases can cause fetal abnormalities. I was making dinner when I received a subpoena from the police. As expected, my bank card was frozen. The reason for the freeze was illegal incoming and outgoing transactions, suspected of being unlawful, and I was asked to cooperate with the investigation. I had suspected something was wrong when I first noticed the unusual transactions, but it was only today that I confirmed it. Marcus truly used my bank account for illegal activities with Sage. It was late at night when I left the police. Currently, to cooperate with the police's investigation, all my bank cards were frozen, and the unfreezing time was uncertain. I leaned against a street lamp, watching the cars come and go. In a daze, I saw my former spirited self. I was only a freshman back then, and everything in my future seemed so bright and brilliant. In just a few short years, I'd become this version of myself. It was truly lamentable. I glanced at my missed calls, then called Margaret back to let her know I was safe. "Grace, listen to me. You absolutely must get this divorce. There's only one more month left. Marcus is inherently rebellious. He's incapable of loyalty. When I got married, no one approved of Marcus and me. He was too strong-willed, never admitting defeat. In his career, this drive brought him success. But in life, it caused him endless suffering, Mom. I know. If correcting my mistake could set everything straight, then this time, I would firmly choose to give up on Marcus." I was bothered by what Sage said that day. I had planned to find time to clarify things at the hospital, but then I saw Marcus while passing by a mental institution. Marcus? The unfamiliar address and familiar voice made him, with his back to me, stiffen for a moment. He turned around, his eyes devoid of their usual fighting spirit. He asked me, "Do you believe in karma?" "I've been dreaming lately, dreaming of our baby calling you mommy." He asked me why I didn't want him. He chose us to be his parents after searching for a long time in heaven. But now, no one wants him. My heart felt like it was being twisted. That day, Sage said there was another reason you forced my stillbirth. What was the real reason for your stillbirth? Do you really have a genetic disease? It turned out that when Sage went overseas, she still kept in touch with Marcus. Since we got married, Marcus had slowly come to accept me. When I was diagnosed with fertility issues, he accompanied me through IVF repeatedly, which deeply moved him. Just as he was settling down and truly accepting me, Sage extended an olive branch to him. His goddess, the one he always loved, whom he had pursued for 4 years, was now within reach. She asked him to join her overseas, so he told me he was going on a business trip. And he was gone for several months. He knew I always wanted a child. When he returned, out of guilt, he pulled me into doing IVF. It went on for 3 whole years, and because of it, my heart was firmly attached to him. The moment I got pregnant, both he and I felt immense relief. We carefully nurtured the upcoming baby, and more than once, I asked him to lighten his workload to help me rest during pregnancy, but he refused every time later. I learned it was because Sage wouldn't allow it. Sage controlled him in every aspect, from his mind to his finances, without exception. But at that time, Marcus was completely immersed in the dream web Sage had woven, powerless to break free. So the reason that led to my stillbirth was... My voice trembled. The truth was getting closer. I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't kill Sage once I knew the truth. Marcus covered his face and wept, repeatedly mumbling, I'm sorry for our baby." When I first got pregnant, he immediately told Sage. Sage publicly celebrated his pregnancy at the company, making it seem as grand as if it were her own child. During those months, not only was he incredibly attentive to me, but Sage also asked after my well-being daily. Even his workload at the company was significantly reduced because of it, with the aura of the one he always loved. Marcus didn't think much of it and accepted her good intentions with a clear conscience. The turning point came when Marcus woke up at Sage's house one time and found her having an uncontrolled seizure, and he himself was diagnosed with a genetic disease that would cause severe disabilities if inherited by the fetus, which was already 6 months along. The baby definitely couldn't be kept, but he didn't know what excuse to use for the stillbirth. He didn't dare tell anyone either. So he could only use the lame lie that the baby brought Sage misfortune. Marcus cried until his voice was hoarse before stopping. She threatened to kill you if I didn't abort, but I refused. My vision went dark. I couldn't believe a word he said. What had I ever done to deserve Sage's years of malicious plotting? That scum deserved to rot in hell. Our divorce proceedings were slowly reaching the final stage. Only 1 more week, and the divorce could be finalized. If he still refused by then, I would have to sue. Currently, both he and Sage had to report to the mental institution, but he was worried about Sage and insisted on staying by her side. All I could do was respect their choices and wish them well. I no longer wanted anything to do with Marcus. Just as I thought the police would contact me again, I found out they had closed the case and I was not involved. The funds transferred from my account in recent months had gone directly to Sage's account, and had then divided the money into many small sums, transferring them to different accounts before having people withdraw the cash. It was a classic money laundering scheme. And my oversight, my failure to carefully review the debit alerts led to such a huge mistake. I was still somewhat surprised by the speed with which the police closed the case. After making several inquiries, I learned that Marcus had obtained evidence from Sage, proving my innocence. 3 short months felt like 3 years. Margaret learned the truth from somewhere and came to my house that night. Tell me, did my granddaughter really? Because Marcus has a genetic disease? Margaret covered her mouth and sobbed. She had seen all my struggles over the years. Our entire family had put immense effort into this child, but because of Marcus, the baby was gone. No one could accept it. When I first got pregnant, Margaret had envisioned taking the child for walks in the neighborhood. She planned to film vlogs daily, documenting her granddaughter. She was getting older and her memory wasn't what it used to be, so she wanted to learn new things from young people to help her remember. Crying heartily, she suddenly seemed to remember something and pulled my hand, leading me outside. Quick, let's go to the hospital for a full checkup. You absolutely must not have caught anything strange. Imagining the possibilities, Margaret stumbled several times in a panic, finally collapsing into my arms. Grace, you're my only child. You absolutely must be all right. I rushed to the hospital, and as Margaret wished, I took the time to get a full checkup. Fortunately, I was healthy, but Margaret wasn't so lucky. The moment the surgery light went out, my heart died with it. A white sheet covered Margaret's face. I clutched her still warm hand, my gaze blank. She had acute heart failure and could not be resuscitated. The day Margaret's funeral was held, Marcus attended the wake with his parents. Marcus looked crestfallen, but his parents, facing me, were as arrogant as ever. When we married, they believed that Marcus marrying me was my good fortune. Because of this, they looked down on Margaret. Over the years, these things had caused Margaret a great deal of grief, for I ultimately lost my last living relative. After handling matters at the funeral, I handed Marcus a large envelope. He didn't open it. He knew exactly what was inside. I won't divorce you. I was puzzled why, logically, he didn't love me either. His heart was entirely with Sage, now that I was willing to let go and fulfill their wish. Why was he still clinging to me? We're done, Marcus. I owe you nothing for these past 5 years. Sign the divorce papers and save us the trouble of going through a contested divorce. Marcus's eyes were red-rimmed, and he wouldn't look at me, his gaze fixed downward. Give me a chance to make amends. I'm also responsible for Margaret's death. I never imagined this would happen. It's all my fault. He used to have a family life most would envy. If only he had embraced my love and appreciated my efforts, he could have had a happier life than most. Unfortunately, he stubbornly chose a different path. No turning back once you've started. What could he possibly do to make it up to me? My child, my mother, both gone from me because of him. Sage could no longer stay in the country. I heard she abandoned her company and fled. Hundreds of employees were looking for her, demanding their pay. The police were meticulously monitoring boarding information from all international airlines, determined to apprehend her. But only Marcus found her. You ruined my family, and I want you to pay with your life. After my mother's funeral arrangements were complete, I suddenly found myself with nothing to do. No job, no social life, like a soulless shell. The past few years felt like a dream, filled with bitterness, laughter, and hope. Only loneliness remained, my constant companion. A few days later, I received an anonymous package, palm-sized. Inside was a USB drive. The living room curtains filtered the sunlight, casting it across the floor. I sat on the floor and watched the video Marcus had sent me. You'd be amazed how oblivious someone with a mental illness could be. The situation in the country was already so dire. Yet Sage still had the nerve to party wildly in an underground. When found her, Sage was floating on a drunken high, and when she saw him, she enthusiastically invited him to join her for a drink. Sage, lost in an alcoholic haze, had no idea she was in danger. He led her to a dark corner and pulled out a hidden dagger. A camera hidden in his collar clearly recorded Sage being killed with a single stab afterward. He called the police. Before the police arrived, he took his own life. Before he took his own life, he typed a message on his phone, pointing it at the camera. I didn't want a divorce because I love you. The wind danced through the sunlight, flipping over the papers on the table. The divorce papers were never submitted in the end, but if one spouse dies, the marriage is automatically dissolved. I tilted my head back and chugged the last half of the bottle of liquor. How did that saying go? Love that comes too late is worthless. But a part of me couldn't help but feel a pang of bittersweet regret. After my bank card was unfrozen, I checked the balance. Only a few tens of thousands remained, but it was enough. I bought a motorcycle, got my motorcycle license, and started an aimless motorcycle trip. I headed towards the legendary remote mountain highway. The scenery along the way was breathtaking, and I saw devout pilgrims on the road, prostrating oneself with each step, trekking to places of faith. As for me, I rode against the wind, speeding along. Finally stopping at the secluded mountain sanctuary, I leaned against my motorcycle, watching the monks come and go. My desolate heart felt as though it had been cleansed. Suddenly, my eyes widened, and I took a few quick steps forward. It was a young woman pulling the baby, who had what looked like dragon horns. When the young woman turned sideways, I distinctly saw my mother's face. My mother, pulling the baby, walked past me. Was she taking my baby and starting a new life elsewhere?